Here I am. I am live. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Hannah Goforth. I am the owner and operator of Go Explore Create Art Studio here in Dormont, PA. I'm so excited to have people join me live today and then also to view later on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you haven't had the chance, you should hightail yourself after this lesson over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. This last spring, when everything was shut down, I did a huge series of live lessons several times a week, and there is the whole catalog available to you on my YouTube channel. Now, today we're going to be doing a live lesson on Facebook, which means that if you get behind, don't pause it because it'll actually skip you ahead to wherever I am in the live feed, okay? So if you're watching live, you're going to want to stay right with me. Now, if you are going to be following along later on YouTube, you can pause whenever you want, okay? So I like to tell students that, especially if they're following my YouTube channels, just pause at any time and you'll get yourself caught up. So today I am going to work a little bit slower so that way it doesn't cause any confusion or frustration. But I am beyond happy for you to come to my studio today here in the basement of my house and to be able to enjoy this live lesson. So I'm going to actually be changing my camera around, so you're going to have to go on a little bit of a ride with me. So here we go. We're going to go down, down, down. All right. There we are. I'm going to spin us around. I don't want to make anyone dizzy first thing in the morning. And get my phone out of the way. And we can get started. So this is our project that we're learning today. I absolutely love this project. I've been teaching this lighthouse project for at least 10 years. And I also have some water down here. So we're making a smaller version of this today. So the paper that I have is a 9 by 12. So let me pop this out of the way and we can start working on creating our lighthouse. Now, you will see in most of my drawing videos that I always use my hands for measuring, okay? Because when you use your hands for measuring, it actually helps you get your proportions correct. And so another thing that I always like to emphasize is do not stress out if something doesn't look exactly the way that I make it, okay? So the first thing we're going to create in our lighthouse picture is we're going to create our land and sea, and we're going to do that without our ruler. So you don't need your ruler to start off with, but then we'll start creating our lighthouse. If you don't have a ruler today, that's perfectly fine. I'm using a ruler because it's really fun to practice ruler skills, but if you don't have a ruler, I wouldn't stress out about it. Just draw and enjoy yourself. This is supposed to be a fun adventure. As you guys are signing in, I see several people are already with us. As you're signing in, if any of your kids want to say hi to me or if anyone has any questions, the chat feature is completely available and I'm going to do my best to keep my eyes on my paper and my eyes on my screen. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is create our land. And the way that I like to create the land is I like to lay my hand down, okay? And I like to make sure that my land is big enough that it goes over all my fingers. So you're going to see that just my fingers are on the paper, okay? Not even my thumbs on the paper. I'm going to scoot that down a little bit. I'm going to start off by drawing my land. And I wanted mine to look kind of rocky. So I put a little bit of a bump on it, okay? And then lighthouses look out over the sea. So now I can create my waves. Now you can use any kind of wave that you want, but I'm going to show you how to make sea waves, okay? Now C is in the letter C, just like what Cookie Monster would say. C is for cookie, so we're going to make sea waves. So what I want you to do is I want you to draw the letter C 4 times. Or 5 or 6, whatever you feel comfortable with. So you're going to draw the letter C. Now watch how we make these magical waves. We actually bring the top of the C back and it touches behind it. Now watch again. We bring the top of the seat up and we go back. Top of the seat up, go back. Top of the seat up, go back. And then I'm just going to have that trail off. Maybe I'll have a little bit of my waves showing right there. But did you see how that created sea waves? How cool is that? Oh, love it. All right, let's get started on creating our lighthouse. Now, you would think that an art teacher would have a lot of rulers laying around, but I didn't. So I'm using a yardstick. So if it seems a little bit awkward on camera, it's because I've got 36 inches of stick behind me, okay? So you have your land drawn, you have your sea drawn. So now we're going to draw our lighthouse. Now the base of our lighthouses are typically tapered up. So I'm going to have my ruler at a very slight angle, okay? I don't want it to be too deep of an angle because I don't want my lighthouse to be too narrow at the top. Now granted, if you look up lighthouses and you want your lighthouse to be about as tall as your hand, because I'm measuring by kid hands right now. Now if I measured with my adult hand, I would go off the top of my paper. So I'm using about the tops of my fingers, but you may want about your entire hand, okay? So if you look up lighthouses online, you're going to see such a huge variety of different lighthouses. I'm just drawing one style. So I've got my one line going up on the one side, and then to taper it, I'm making sure that it's a little bit more narrow at the top than at the bottom. Oh my goodness, I see all these likes popping up. Thank you so much. That's lovely. I'm going to draw my other line down the other side. Now, like I said, I'm going to be drawing pretty slow today, okay, since we're live. And if you're following me live, then that means that you can't pause, okay? If you're following it later on YouTube and I'm going a little bit too slow, you can always change your playback speed, okay? So now I'm going to start in on the top of my lighthouse. Now the top of my lighthouse is going to have several parts to it. So we're going to start right here with kind of like the seal between the house that the actual light keeper would live in and the light area that would have like the giant light bulbs in it. So you can either use a ruler or freehand this. Okay, freehand is when you're just using your hand by itself. Okay, but I'm going to make a rectangle. So I've got my rectangle to start off the top of my lighthouse. And then remember how I tapered the lighthouse in? Well, the actual light of my lighthouse is going to taper back out. Okay, so I'm going to hold my ruler and I'm just making this half a finger tall. Okay, remember, I'm going to use my fingers and my hands a lot to measure, so that way you don't have to worry about proportions. Okay, so I'm going to use about half of a finger, and then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to draw that. Okay, now if you want to freehand this because it's really hard to get the angles correct, that's perfectly fine. And then I'm topping my lighthouse off with a triangle on top. I'm going to freehand the triangle for the dome of my lighthouse. So I've just got simple shapes, okay? And then for the interior, to actually make my light bulb, I'm going to do 2 vertical lines. I'm just going to freehand them. Okay. And then I'm going to take a circle and I'm going to split that circle in half and put each half on one side. So put half on this side, half on the other side. Oh, doesn't that look lovely? Okay, so I've got my lighthouse drawn, but now I really need to get the light that's coming out from my lighthouse. So if you're having a hard time remembering where to have the light come out, you can always draw little dots at the corners at the top of the light area and at the bottom. So you can always draw dots, okay? That's a good way to remember where you're starting. Now, when light comes out, does it get thinner or does it get thicker? Typically, if you think about a flashlight, your light is going to get thicker. So we're going to use those angled lines again, where we start with our dot, and it's going to go angled up. Okay. And then we're going to go angled down. Now don't forget, because I had a couple people join in. Ha! I had a moon sequin sneak aboard. If you're following live, you don't want to pause. Okay, I'm drawing a little bit slower today, so that way you guys don't feel necessarily needing to pause. Okay, there we go. So now I've got my light beams coming out. Okay, now this is where you really get to take creative control. Okay, I want you to design your own lighthouse. You can see on my teacher sample, I used my ruler to make diagonal lines for my lighthouse, okay? And I did a half oval door. You can do your lighthouse in any design that you want. It's really up to you. So, for instance, I'm going to actually use curved lines today so that it makes my lighthouse look more curved. So I'm going to start, actually let me make my door first. I want to make a really fun door. So I'm going to make a door that kind of looks like the top of the lighthouse. And then he's got a little door handle to come in there. And I'm also going to add a little stone walkway using all different sizes of rocks. Now, this is what I'm choosing to do. You can choose to do whatever you want. And to make it look like my pathway is going towards that door, I'm going to use a little bit of something called scale, where things get bigger and wider as they get closer to you. So my rockway is going to get bigger rocks, and it's going to get wider as it's coming towards me. I'm going to have some half rocks down there because they're going off the page. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. Okay? Then you can start drawing in your lines for the lighthouse. So like I said, I'm going to use some curved lines so that it looks like my lighthouse is curved. Oh, I've got an even better idea. See, this is the problem as a creative person, and I know a lot of you will understand this. You get one idea, and then you think of another idea, and you're like, oh, wait, I want to change my idea. This happens to me all the time. Instead of using my ruler to make the straight lines, I'm going to actually do my diagonal lines with curved lines. Oh yes, I like that a lot. Now, at your house, I am sure that you are designing your lighthouse in all different kinds of ways. And I love being able to see what you create. So as you're drawing, as you're creating today, I want you guys to really have a lot of fun with how you want your lighthouse to look. And then if it's okay with your parents, I would love to see pictures of this either posted in the event, or you can send them to me through Messenger, but I would love to see what you create today. Okay, so we could even create a ship in the sea. I've had people create mermaids in the sea. I mean, come on, let's just have some fun with this. I'm just showing you the basic outline, and then you're taking it from here. So now the next part is going to be coloring it. Now this is going to be really important because I am going to be pulling out my watercolor paints in a little bit. So as you're coloring today, I want you to really think about filling those spaces, because we're doing a painting technique called wax resist today. And just like oil and water don't mix, wax and water also do not mix. So if I am painting with wax crayons from, well, today I'm using Crayola, In fact, I always use Crayola, just a personal preference. But if I'm using wax crayons and then I'm using watercolor paint, what's going to happen is something called wax resist, where the paint won't be able to stick to the wax. So then when I paint the watercolor paint over it, it actually ends up only painting in the crevices between where I was coloring. So it's going to be very important to color thoroughly today. Now, if I was going to paint if I was going to color every last part that I wanted to color today, my video would probably be about 45 minutes long. And I know that you guys love me and love the sound of my voice, but 45 minutes is a very long time. So I'm going to color a few things on here, and then I'll demonstrate the watercolor painting technique. And while we're coloring, I wanted to let you know that in case you have not heard, I am doing fall art club classes this year. And you can go to my website, goexplorecreate.com. Super easy to remember. You can go to goexplorecreate.com and you can register for my fall classes. And the fall classes are laid out very similarly to what we're doing now. I do a lesson on YouTube, and on Mondays you receive a private link through your email for that lesson on YouTube. And then, depending on when your open studio time is, and the days of the week that I'm doing open studio in the fall are going to be either Wednesday or Thursday. There we go. And depending on what day you sign up, then you come visit me during Open Studio. And Open Studio is over Zoom. And Open Studio, I think I'm going to make Open Studio time is a fabulous time where kids really get to interact with me personally, because I'm limiting the classes to 12 kids. So it's going to be a very small amount of kids coming into Open Studio. And you also have time where you get to do an art activity with me. And it's really fun. I really enjoy it a lot. I've been doing these types of classes all summer through Kathy's Music as their summer art program. And they've worked so well that I thought, you know what, I want to open this up to a lot of the families that have been following me for at least a year, because that's about when my business started. So I'm offering classes for pre-K kids as young as 3, all the way up to 8th grade. And you can see a complete class listing on my website. And we're going to be studying artists that give different voices to current events. And we're also going to be studying artists from around the world. And then we'll also really be delving into a lot of art technique, and we'll be delving into a lot of different ways to view art in this year. Now, I'm getting started on my light up here, and this is probably as far as I'm going to take it. Ooh, I do want to make a moon. Okay. So I'm going to use several. I actually happen to have 2 yellows with me today. I have dandelion and I have regular yellow. So I'm going to switch between these 2. But if my light is on, I need to make sure that I color inside the light. Now, I want you to think a lot about the direction with which you're coloring, okay? So I want to make sure that your coloring follows the same lines that you drew, because that's going to create emphasis, because it'll draw the eye towards the light source, okay? Whereas if I'm coloring this way, then I'm coloring this way, then I'm coloring this way, your eye gets a little mixed up out here. So to keep your eye going in the same direction, you want to color in the same direction. Now again, this is your project. Let's say you wanted to have curly lights just coming out of your lighthouse instead of straight lights. Please, by all means, do it. Let's say you wanted to have lightning light coming out. So you wanted to color in lightning bolts. This is your project. I'm giving you guys a framework for which you can be creative in. Now I am coloring. Okay. Whoop. Now, during Open Studio, you also get to see my face a lot more because I use, this is a document camera, what I have right there. I use my document camera to create all of my videos, and then I use my document camera and my computer camera for Open Studio, so you get to see me a lot more. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is going to be in white crayon. Now, if you are not using watercolor, then you can create these in pencil and color them in. But I'm going to put some stars in my sky because lighthouses are on at night. Okay, we're going to pretend like I've colored all of this, okay? And I probably will because I'm very into my art project right now. And from here, you can color your nighttime sky. Now, a lot of times, ooh, my paintbrush was really stuck in there. A lot of times, I can tell that my kids were playing with that paintbrush. We're gonna get a different paintbrush. Okay. A lot of times we just want to paint the sky black if it's a nighttime sky. But I love to think of the sky in lots of different dark colors. So I am going to mix up some black, but then I'm also going to mix up some purple and some blue. So I am just pulling water into each of these inkwells, and I'm going to make up a lot of paint because it's going to take a lot of paint to paint in this sky. And I'm going to show you guys what you can do if your paint gets a little bit too strong and it starts covering up your crayon. So I'll start with some black, and I'm just going to paint back and forth. Look at that. Do you see how my stars and my moon are starting to show up? Ooh, look at that. I love it. I did a crescent moon. And then maybe I want to pull in some purple. Look at how now my nighttime sky is kind of transitioning. Oh, isn't that so cool? Now watch what's happening with my wax resist. Do you see how it's kind of just bubbling on top of the paper instead of mixing in? There's another one of my stars. Let's grab some blue. That blue looks a little bit too daytime for me, so let's grab a little bit of black. And you can kind of bounce in between. I don't know if you've noticed that I'm doing this, but every time I'm grabbing paint, I am cleaning my brush. Okay, so I am bouncing between all of these colors quite a bit, but I am also making sure that I'm grabbing water every single time. Okay, so now I can see that paint really starting to get in there. Now if you notice, if you see that it's starting to not resist, pull it away, okay? Pull it around the paper, and it's completely safe. Let me grab part of a paper towel here. You can also blot, not rubbing, we're blotting. You can blot with a paper towel. If you rub, sometimes it'll actually like smear the watercolor paint into the wax more. Oh my goodness, did you see how cool that black looked? I love it. So again, grab water every single time you're putting paint on. And look, I grabbed way too much paint there. So I'm actually going to just grab water by itself. And I'm going to grab the paint and pull it over. Oh, there's another star I drew. It's really fun when you don't remember where you put your stars. Oh, there's another one. So today, as you guys finish your project, I would love for you to show me what you've created. So you can comment in our event page. You can comment on my business page. You can really have a lot of fun with this. And I'm starting to go off screen, so let me make some more room here. All right. So I am actually going to stop right about here. But if you have not gotten the chance to either visit my website, goexplorecreate.com, let me blot a little bit of that off. See, just very gentle. If you have not gotten the chance to go to goexplorecreate.com, you can see what I do. You can sign up for our fall classes. You can get yourself registered for fall. And I'm going to very gently spin you around, so hold on tight. Very gently bring my camera up. And here I am. I want to thank you so much for joining me today for my live lesson. In 2 weeks, I plan on doing another one, but it'll be through YouTube Live. So I hope that you're able to join me in 2 weeks on August 28th, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, and the other thing I do in Open Studio is I teach sign language. So today we're going to learn Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Let me show again because I just saw that my camera wasn't low enough. There we go. Okay. Hand like this. Brush towards you. Happy. And then you make the OK symbol. And Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful weekend. It has been a pleasure to spend time with you today. Bye.